Morning, February 15th, 2025. It's 7:30 a.m. I just woke up, if you can't already tell by my voice. I had one of the most insane dreams of my life, and I want to document every single detail because I think this was from God. I think I actually saw what heaven looked like. I think I actually got a vision into the real life heaven. I'll start with what I remember throughout the dream, and I'll do my best throughout this to close my eyes and try to replay the dream, because you know how it is trying to recall details in dreams. It can just fade your memory, but as I just recall in order and sequence, I'll notice details that that maybe originally I didn't remember. So the first part of the dream, I was with my brother and my father, and we were going on a road trip somewhere for a vacation, and we were going in a car, and we were about to cross this bridge that was meant for a train track, but for some reason we thought it was a road. And we went down the train track, and we slipped through the tracks, and we went under the bridge, and then we went into the water. So we fell. It was scary because it was like that moment when I was falling. I remember I was like, I'm about to die. But then I started floating out of the air. Like, all of us came out of the car, and then we landed in the water. But I noticed something about this water that didn't feel like it was real water. It was insanely clear. The water was like it was like glass, and if you put your eyes through the water, it's like you could see through to the bottom, and it was just clear. It was super clear, but had this beautiful white, tealish, transparent color. And I remember I was swimming through it, and I was like, this doesn't feel real. And I was like, is this a dream? And then the next moment I remember, I was in this void. I was in this black and white void where it was like a room, and I saw I think it was three beings. And then in the middle, there was this bigger being. It was like this. I don't know why I remember this detail, but it was like a black scribble, but it was like a talking voice. Like the three beings were talking to me, and I heard the middle one say I forgot, but in some way, shape, or form, I knew I was kind of in this transition stage of death and the afterlife. I was I think I asked, where am I going? Where am I? Who are you? And I think the only answer I got was you're going somewhere that I don't remember, to be honest. Okay, but the next kind of scene I remember in this dream was I was in a shop. I was in a restaurant. It was like a very small restaurant slash shop where maybe no more than 30 people were in. It was maybe like 1,000 square feet, and there were like tables and booths, and I was sitting in one of the booths. Man, so much of the details are fading me. I remember, like, as soon as I woke up, I remembered a lot more details, but this is what I'm just gonna say off the top of my head. I knew this was, like, after a while, I didn't believe where I was. Like, I didn't know what was going on. But then it was like either the waiters or the people around me. They all told me we were about to enter heaven. And oh, I remember. I saw my mom in here, and we were sitting down together and we were eating bagels, lox, and cream cheese, which is her favorite dish on earth. And I was like, I'm gonna eat this. We are both, I think, sharing a meal, and I think we were saying like, I'm gonna eat this now, but I heard like in heaven, you don't get full, so you can eat as much as you want. And I was like, I can eat it. I can eat two full bagels and then eat like whatever I want in heaven. And we were like joking with each other. And I was like, this doesn't feel real. And so I started going around the restaurant, like tapping people's shoulders, and I saw people I knew. It was so weird. Um, I remember this detail, but I remember people from my high school were there. And I tapped them on the shoulder. I'm like, do you know why you're here? And they're like, yeah, we're about to go to heaven. Uh, and I was like, this doesn't feel real, but it also feels super vivid. Like, I remember telling myself how vivid I could feel everything be during that moment, even though right now it's like I can't remember much of it. It's like it's kind of a blur, but I remember in the moment, like, it felt so real. It felt so real. And so I'm not even at the good part yet. The next thing uh, that I remember most when I was in this scene in this shop restaurant, people were sitting down, eating and talking, and I stood up and I began to cry. It was a cry of realization that I'm about to go to paradise. Like, I'm about to go on the best place imaginable. And I just started like crying in unbelief. And the next thing I remember, I was back in the void after I did that. And then this time it was like the the beings, the scribble being was like, you can choose anywhere you want to go next. Name any place and we'll take you there. And it's crazy. This almost felt like a lucid dream because I felt very conscious. I felt very aware. And I think I do believe this is a lucid dream because I felt like I could move my body parts, and I was aware. I didn't tell you this detail, but later in the later in the dream, I could feel my conscious body laying on the bed whilst I was in the dream. Like I had my hand on my chest and it was warm, and I could kind of like tap into like, oh, I just have my eyes closed currently, but I'm also like in this imagination world uh that's probably a lucid dream. And I was like, oh, so I'm not actually dead. It's not actually heaven. And I started like going down a, I guess, a thought pattern like, this isn't real. But it still felt too insanely real and vivid for me to not document this video. So it's really weird. The next step, so after I void, they were like, where do you want to go? I said the first thing was one of my clients' names. Tested on the roof. For some reason, I think I thought this was like a food place, but it was one of my clients' roofing companies, and somehow that was on my mind, and I just said, yeah, I want to go there. And the next thing I remember, I was in this, like, I was being transported. I was being teleported into another, like, bright, almost concrete shop, like in a town. It's like one of these little shops, you know, that's in a row of buildings. You have this shop. Number two, I remember two Jewish guys were making like Jewish food or something, and I think I started eating that as well. I remember, I don't know, my memory's really starting to fade me, but I remember it was so vivid. Like, I was just able to transport by thought. Like, I thought of this and then I'm here. And I really had to think hard about it. Like, in the void, I was like, oh, I really need to choose where I need to go. This is heaven. And when I went to the shop, I knew I was somewhere in heaven. Like, I didn't know what was going. I don't know what's going on when I say it out loud, but I knew I was like in paradise. I felt joy. I felt like, this is amazing. I also felt like my senses were enhanced. This may be biased due to me reading the book Imagine Heaven, whereby I have like kind of a biased understanding of what heaven would be like and what you will feel like when you go to heaven. And like one of the descriptions is your senses are enhanced, and I just had that thought during this dream, and I remember it, where like your vision, like it feels like it could extend miles and miles. Your hearing, your sense of touch, smell, everything is just enhanced tenfold, hundredfold. I don't know if that was a bias and like that was introduced in the dream because of that subconscious piece of knowledge, but I remember like how, like in this dream, I legitimately thought I was in heaven. Next thing I remember is I was like, I think I was eating in that shop, and then I was taken by, I think, a tour guide. I think it was an angel, but it didn't look like, you know, this big angel with wings. It was just like another person, um, a lady, a young lady. I believe she was like blonde, dark eyes, a little bit on the shorter side, actually. And I remember she was like leading this group of people, including me, to like tour around this little town. Now, this town, when I describe it, like think of like a European mountain town, like Switzerland or Finland or something. Like it was like these towns with very modest building infrastructure, and it's just like a cute local town, and that's at least where we were in, and it was amazing. It was amazing nature around. I could feel the sun. Um, my imagination might be making this up, but I believe there was mountains and rivers and very clear skies. Like it just felt like paradise. And the next thing I remember, this angel, or don't know who she is, but we were like touring this other shop in this town with robotics. Like what I remembered was what I remembered was there was this like robot center. I don't know how else to describe it, but there were a bunch of just like mechanical robots lying around from all different shapes and sizes. But they look like the robots you'd build in like a Lego uh, comp sci competition. Like they weren't like this humanoid robot or this like boxy maybe robot that's kind of known like the robot emoji. It's not like that kind of robot, but actual mechanical ones that had like just an arm, or it was like a little box with wheels, and they were moving. And the angel was like starting to control them, and we were like, everyone as a group, there's probably like no more than 8 people in this group. We started playing with the robots and programming them, making them move around, making them clean the floors or something, and like we were just having a lot of fun. I remember I was smiling, and I was like, wow, I really want to be here or do this or something. It's funny, when I describe this out loud, there's no way, like, I believe now this was a lucid dream, because I wouldn't have thought of, like, doing this stuff. But during the dream, I believe, like, I was conscious, like, I was in control. But like the robotics and the client name, like it doesn't make sense. It's just like it's just the dream, like it does its random sequence of events, and you can't explain why, other than like they just come from the subconscious. It's kind of the last thing I remember in this dream. The most significant event that I believed came from God was the kind of transition phase, like this shop, this restaurant where I was sitting with my mom and people I knew, and me crying, like just with anticipation of where I was going. Like it felt so real. It felt like a moment that would change my life forever, which it in hindsight it wasn't real, but like if it was actually heaven, like it really would, because it's eternal life. And how I just got super emotional in that moment. And I don't know what the void represented, or maybe if I misinterpreted, but yeah. The last thing that happened was I went back to bed. So I woke up and I remembered this dream, and I was trying to I just got out of my bed and I was just like putting my hand like this and trying to replay the things so I could remember what happened the most. And I went back to bed. I went back to sleep to see if I could go back. To see if I could go back to the dream. But I actually had a completely separate dream where I was in this video game called Rainbow Six Siege. It's like a shooter game. And I was like, yeah, I felt like I was just playing the video game, but IRL. And I was in this house, and I was like hiding or something. I remember like the whole like putting barricades, and like the scopes and the way that people fall. Like it was exactly like Rainbow Six Siege. I don't know why this was my next dream. There's nothing to be related with the first one, but anyways. Long story short, I had a dream where I died in a car accident. I saw clear water, which is also another aspect of Imagine Heaven that I may have subconscious bias to, like looking at clear water. But I saw clear water. I then remember going to a void, and ended up being in this restaurant shop where I saw people I knew eating a lox bagel, crying because I was like, everyone was telling me I was about to go to heaven, and going back to the void, telling the person I want to go to sit on the roof, and I was in this Jewish restaurant next, where I believed I was in heaven in this town, and I was starting to be led everywhere, and I went into this robotics shop with an angel and a few other people, and we were playing with robots. When I say all that out loud, it doesn't sound like I actually went to heaven. At the beginning of this video, I actually had so much conviction that this was from God. Maybe to some extent it is. Like, he's confirming to me that it's real. I still am trying to wrap my head around dreams. Why do we have dreams? Like, what's the significance of them? Why do we have this kind of thing happen? Like, me remembering just almost nonsense, it seems like. But that was the dream I had on the night of February 14th. Woke up on February 15th. Went back to sleep. Had another crazy dream. And here I am, documenting it. Yeah, Elijah Rant video, February 15th, 2025. All right, I'm out.